This is the regular monthly Woodbridge Board of Finance. I don't know why it's a special meeting, but it's a meeting.
Because it was rescheduled.
So when you reschedule, it
Yes.
becomes special.
Correct.
So this is special. Well, it's special. It's special in a couple other ways too. This is Thursday, July 25th. Unfortunately, the way things happen and appointments are made, we didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Ann Rubin, but we'd like to thank Ann for her service. She was a valuable member and we'll miss her. But another reason it's a special meeting is because we have a new member. And that's Karen Cusick, who I know will be an asset to the board. I've worked with her a number of times on a number of committees, and we look forward to your service, Karen.
And so have I.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. And this is the first official meeting of our first selectwoman, Ellen Skalatar, her first Board of Finance meeting.
Thank you.
And I thought it might be an appropriate time to just an understanding of the first selectman's role in the Board of Finance. The first selectman is an ex officio member of the Board of Finance. She's here to add her comments and if we need information from her. And in the event of a tie vote, she breaks the tie, which I believe in my many years has happened twice. I think it's not the most common thing. So that's just a little housekeeping. Okay. Are there any public comments? I see some. No? Okay. All right, the next election of chairman and vice chairman. Are there any nominations for chairman?
I'd like to nominate Matt Giglietti.
Any other nominations?
Second that nomination.
Okay. No others. All right, then I'll make a motion that we close nominations.
So I move it.
All those in favor of Matt Giglietti? I was told you're supposed to vote for yourself, so I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I will nominate Sandy Stein for vice chairman.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for vice chairman?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, then with that, I'll make a motion that we close nominations.
Second.
And all those in favor of Sandy Stein? Aye. Thank you. Okay. Number 3 is Tony.
Yes.
FY13 budget, just a few days into it.
FY13.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I thought I'm thinking of FY14.
So we'll okay. So the budgetary surplus estimated for the year end is actually $80,000. It's changed since this was released as we received the golf financials in just recently. I'll get into that in a little. Some of our revenue variances. So the taxes are, we did well with taxes this year. We had a surplus of about $170,000 in taxes. Primarily, we had some large back tax collections come in that helped out a lot. So that's one of the primary reasons for that. Department revenue, here's where we have our change. I'd previously estimated a shortfall of about $489,000. And this was in large part due to a revenue shortfall in golf revenues, which remains a revenue shortfall compared to what we budgeted of about $509,000. So the revenue budget for golf fees was, to the exact figure, 1,490,263, and our actuals were 983. So that shows you the major issue there and why the revenues were so far off. That's major reason why our department revenues were $489,000 shortfall. There were some other revenues that came in a little over budget and some that were a little under budget, but building permit fees were a little over budget, came in a little bit of a surplus this year. And town clerk fees were right on budget, rec fees were on budget. A lot were on budget. So, except for golf fees. So, latest expenditures over revenues, or the latest income statement for the golf course is $410,000 shortfall in operations, as opposed to 386, which is in the memo. So there were some audit adjustments, last minute changes to the June financials, which caused the difference. There were some expenditures that had to be charged to the prior year, which is the reason for that. So that's the major item here in this entire report. And a lot of the other departments have done a good job of maintaining on budget or trying to provide a surplus where they can. Waste management had a surplus of about $40,000 due to reduced tonnage in the department, both in recycling and municipal solid waste. So we didn't have to pay as much for hauling and for disposal fees. Human Services will experience a surplus of about $25,000. They had some part-time wages that, if people leave, or some part-time wages that they didn't have to fill, so they were able to save some money there, which they do a good job of when they can. Amity, there's a surplus of $85,000, which we've discussed previously. Recreation will experience a surplus of about $23,000, again due to part-time wages. I'm not sure. I think this number also may be dated on the Woodbridge Board of Education, but the last number I had received was $42,000. I don't know if you have a different number than that.
They didn't actually meet.
Didn't meet. Okay. So I'm not 100% sure on that figure. I don't know if anyone has a different figure, but so those are our highlights.
So Tony, on this golf, did you want to talk about it, Andy,
Well,
later,
I mean,
or?
Yeah, I mean,
I know you were on the
I've been talking about it a lot for the last couple of years, and
Yeah.
basically, the budget they put forth, and you take a look at where they are, you take a look at the swing, you're talking about almost $750,000. They forecasted a surplus over 300. Now we're at 410 minus. Now, what this does not include is any debt service.
Correct.
Somehow, the debt service belongs to the town and not applied to the country club. But when you apply debt service to that on top of this, which is what going to be this year, Tony?
It's 430, I believe. Just as an aside to that, we have an enterprise fund created for this operation, and so as part of an enterprise fund, you would include debt for the acquisition of an asset. So we would include that in our financials for the coming year. But you're right, last year it did
Well,
not.
what I'm saying is we're looking at $840,000. We're approaching $1 million. We're not finished yet. I mean, so.
So what has
I mean-
Casper said about their projections? They're obviously
The
not looking very good.
No. And the projections were largely based on weather and what they anticipated or hoped that the weather would be versus what it actually was. And it was a very, as you've all witnessed, the weather was not what they'd hoped.
But is it primarily golf fees or everything associated with golf? Or how's the pool doing?
It's primarily golf fees. And I think what would help going forward is if I provided the financials for you in your package, and then you can see them on a monthly basis, starting in your next meeting as a separate agenda item, just so you have a clearer idea of exactly where the issues are.
So the fall off in revenues, is that
It's,
this season, or is it last season, or is it both?
Both.
Both.
This is basically through June 30th.
Correct. This is through June 30th, so it's both last July and August and September, and also this May and June.
But this is a business, and it has all the risk associated with running a business. And I have a problem going with me. Well, we had rain this week. We had this week. We didn't water the grass because the pump failed. Well, these are all the things associated with running the business. And the real question is, does the town of Woodbridge belong in the country club business and running golf courses and racking up $1 million losses? I don't think so. And I think that, and I think this is something we have to talk about. I mean, it seems to be that, I don't know if, how much of this do we want to sustain? I mean, we have other issues to deal with in this town. And meet your school. There's other issues we have to deal with this town. There's other things we need to spend out. We're talking 7 figures. When we're approaching 7 figures, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Well, I think, I think Ellen's made it clear that she's gonna address this with an ad hoc committee.
Correct.
So I think, I think we're gonna definitely, we have to. We can't just keep letting this go the way it's going. So it's gonna be one of our major undertakings, I believe.
If I can, I was
Yeah,
going
go
to
right ahead.
mention that for a selectman's report, but
Okay.
I think we really do need a committee that's going to look at the use of the country club property and what's in the best interest of the town going forward. The commission, of course, these numbers are very, very disappointing, and the commission seems to focus on, and I think that's within their charge, the operation of the golf. But I think we really need a group that's going to look at the entire property and what's the best use for the people of the town of Connecticut to make sure we don't sustain losses like this going forward. So I'm hoping to have this up and running no later than the end of September so that we can look at the options, make sure we have good facts out for the people of the town so that when we finally come up with some proposals, people are well educated about them and can make informed decisions.
Yeah, I think the
It's-
golf
it's
business, as we've all read, is not a good business to be in. With the closing of Woodbridge and Oak Lane, you would think Racebrook would be booming, and they're not. They're struggling too. They got a lot of the members from the two clubs, and I know New Haven Country Club. You needed to know 17,000 people to get in there. Now my wife got a letter from New Haven Country Club. She wouldn't know a golf ball from a tee, and she gets a letter to join New Haven Country Club. So I mean, not only for I understand it's very tremendous. So it's not a good business, and so that's going to be one of our major undertakings. So I can assure everybody that will be taking up a lot of our time. So.
And the Yale golf course is now open to the public. We
Yeah.
don't really advertise it, but you can go there.
That's the problem. There's a lot of courses out there if you want to play.
When you say Yale opening to the public, and you see
Yeah.
all these courses,
That's totally
everybody
something.
is struggling. It's not a
Yeah.
very, very happy industry these days.
Yeah.
Not profitable at all.
Okay. Any other questions for Tony on the FY13 budget? All right, then what about the FY13 audit, Tony?
They went in this week. Gladry is our auditor. It's their 4th year and 4-year contract. So next spring we'll be going out to bid for audit, our audit services. And they were in this past week with doing their preliminary work, which is basically their audit testing on our grants and on our payables and our payroll and our receivables. And so far we've been doing well. They are coming out for their final audit probably in early October. Okay.
All right. And Woodbridge Board of Ed finance reports are here for your information. But according to this one, it looks like it's 32.
32,000.
Okay.
Yeah, 32,700.
Which could change, obviously.
Yeah.
Could change.
Yeah, these are preliminary for them.
Okay. Funding requests. The first funding request we have is request to fund AKF engineers to provide consulting services to conduct a security system review for Beecher Road School. I could just have a couple of minutes on this. Something has come to my attention that probably makes what I was going to say about this moot. What I was going to say was that I don't know why this is not part of the construction project. It's $14,350. And why it's not part of the construction project, number one. Number two, I've learned through the years that studies, if you want to call it that, such as this, lead to reports, which lead to expenditures, tremendous amount of expenditures, and to have a security system review, I guarantee you, in that building, will result in many things that are wrong with it, and this should be repaired. It could be very expensive to repair. Now, I was told many years ago, there was a proposal out there to do a road review, have a complete study of the roads. And we were talked out of it by legal counsel because once you put a study out there and you get a report, if there's a problem, a legal matter, and you've got a report and hadn't acted on it, you're open to a lawsuit. So I would have said that I'd be very leery of this and we should talk more about it. But then I happened to pull a copy of the agenda for tomorrow for the town building committee on Beecher Road, and item 3 says receive update on security audit from AKF and subcontractor Wivenhoe Group, which indicates to me that this is being done or is done. And now, we haven't even voted on it. Do you know anything about this?
I know that it's in process.
It's in process.
Yeah.
Which also tells me, I'm guessing that since the Board of Selectmen just met a couple of weeks ago, it was probably being done without their approval, because they just approved it on the 10th. So I'm concerned that this has been done without approval. And that's always a concern of mine.
So they did it out of their operating budget rather
No,
than.
I don't know what they did. Obviously, you didn't issue a purchase order.
We didn't issue a purchase order, we haven't signed a contract, we haven't done any of that.
And the they is the building committee, not the,
I don't know. I don't know who authorized this, but Andy? You're my only.
I'm getting priority on this because I'm on that committee. Matthew, this has been going on since the disaster we've had in Newtown, and there's a lot
I know.
of state mandatory that these schools get reports done, and
Yeah.
this whole safety issue. I think that, I don't know what could have been postponed. I think maybe, but I think this the report. I thought at that point in time it hadn't moved through, and it was important to get it done. So that's why it was done.
It makes sense that they're doing it now while they're.
Well, it's all part of, because it's all part of. There's two part of that is a lot of the work that has to be done and securing the building. That Board of Education has already had discretionary funding that they're using to do some of the things now. Okay. And what the balance of this is things that would be incorporated in the new, in the building program that we're proposing for Beecher School. So all of a sudden, this building committee, after this disaster, was charged with responsibility. They added that on to our scope of work, and that's really what happened to it. This was added on to our scope of work, and that's what really happened. So.
Well, my concern as a process-oriented person
Yeah,
is
I understand.
that this has been done, and, I mean, so what, we turn around and we say no?
We haven't,
Can't
we
say.
haven't,
Yeah.
I don't know if I know we haven't issued, like I said, a PO or a contract, so at some point they're doing it at their own risk.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I don't understand though is why, if they needed this, didn't they come back to the Board of Ed in terms of, knowing that there's money there? And I thought that pieces of this were actually included in terms of their requests.
There are members on this building committee that are members of the Board of Education, the superintendent, the business manager. Everybody was involved, was aware of this. I mean, this is not something they weren't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, so to say, whether or not, I don't know whether they brought it back to the Board of Education. I don't know if that was a topic of discussion with them. I do not know that. But they were certainly involved in the process here. They were all involved in the process here.
I mean, my biggest question was why it's coming to us as opposed to being handled by the Board of Ed. That's my question.
And that's why I asked
didn't
about the
understand
operating
that.
budget. I don't know necessarily why we have to approve this.
Yeah, I mean, if they have a surplus, why not just take
Right.
it out of their surplus? It's too late to do that? We can't have this happen.
I guess the only thing I could say to you is that I'm not sure of the actual amount of the surplus,
Okay.
because it's not without talking to them. So I can't tell you. I mean, it says the report we have is, 30, but that was,
But I'm trying to remember what was in when we met the last time. There were some charts, and I'm sorry I didn't bring anything because there was no meeting this past month, that basically showed how they were using some of the extra money, and I thought some of it was related to the security system.
Absolutely.
So there were items in there. So I don't know how this particular assessment relates to those items
Well, maybe
that
we
they
should,
already approved.
Maybe we should table this and have them come and explain it to us. my initial inclination is to abstain,
Well,
because,
Or why don't you attend the meeting tomorrow morning and ask them to explain it? I mean, you could attend the meeting tomorrow, we have a meeting at 8 o'clock. Attend the meeting and then you can get your explanation then.
yeah, that's not gonna help us now.
I know
They'll all be together.
Well, I think,
Well, that committee will be, but this is actually coming from the Board of Ed, correct? This is a Board of Education request? Or is this a
No,
building
it's not.
committee request?
Building committee request.
I
On
see.
Board of Education.
it's not Board of Ed, it's got really.
I guess Matt
Okay.
says if, if it's for that issue, why was this charged to their surplus? I don't know, maybe it's because the charge went to that responsibility for the security issue was added on to
Right.
our scope of work.
Right.
That's probably why.
And the building committee is, appointed by the board of selectmen, so I think they're just.
And were there any funds that were given to that committee? I'm trying to remember.
For, you funded other
For
things.
their, for
Yeah.
their work.
No.
You
Yeah.
funded other parts of the proposal from AKF or prior.
Yeah, prior
Stuff-
prior
Prior
studies,
work,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so they would come piece by piece.
Correct.
In terms
Through-
of
through this
requesting.
process.
Right.
Yeah, we've done it before. through
Yeah,
this
we
process.
started with Beecher School, then we were given, then they added on the pool, which was not originally part of our original scope of work. And then security was added on, okay, the license piece added on. So they have expanded the scope of work, from Beecher School. Cost reduction on Beecher School, pool was added, now this was added to our scope of work. And we were never given any funding or, no funding was ever given to us.
No, there was no budget assigned
So-
to this. Sort of been. as
Whatever
necessary.
engineering studies or things that had to be done, we would go and it would go first to the board of selectmen, then the board of
Right,
finance.
this process, yeah.
That was the
Just
procedure.
from a procedural, it is, if the work was done, but like this was dated April 1st. What was it, if the quotes are for 90 days,
Right.
so it's not even valid. I can't imagine that anybody would work without a signed contract. Like if somebody didn't sign it and then proceeded with work. I don't work with any consultant who would, so before they walk in the door, they have a signature.
I know I've been attending the building committee meetings, and we were told that they did proceed with this without any assurance of being paid for it. And I think what's happening is because of Newtown, people are so sensitive to the security issue, and they wanted it to be part of the building committee's contemplation of, I'm not saying right or wrong, but that's what was happening. And in addition, there was new legislation this year about school security and what the standards either are or are going to be, and possible state funding for certain things. And I think people just felt so much pressure about Newtown that that's my impression of how it sort of came to be in an unusual format.
well, again, my concern is, the discussion is moot because it's been done. I'm talking from a financial point of view. For us to discuss, I would have probably said, I think I'd like to have them come in and maybe give us some more information on this, but it's already done. So I don't know what at this point, and I'm sure, as I said, that when you get that report, knowing that building as well as I do, it's not going to be 20 or 30,000 to fix the
No.
security over there. It's going to be
Well, that's,
a lot of
again,
money.
the proposals that are being made tomorrow are funding issues. And they're,
I would just be
so
concerned
you might
because
be, if you're interested in finding out what it's gonna cost, tomorrow would be a good day
I
meeting.
don't know how
to
you
attend.
could secure that building, honestly.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation on it also.
So, what is the board's, what is your pleasure? It's done. I don't know, it's obviously done.
So money is coming from contingency in this
Yeah,
this
correct.
fiscal year to the town building committee.
Committee, correct.
Okay, not to the board of ed.
Not to the board, not to the building committee.
And there's no way, Tony, to basically designate it from whatever funds are turned back from the school?
You could, I suppose, I just don't know how much, I suppose you can include that in the motion if you want. I just don't know.
Yeah, I always get, the first month of the
Yeah,
fiscal
there's-
year, we're getting hit for
To the extent there's
14,000.
funds available, something like that. I
Funds
suppose.
available from the budget that was appropriated to them. to use those funds as opposed to contingency
I
funds.
just don't know, like, technically if the Board of Ed has control of the funds.
Well, they're not their funds, they're actually our funds, so we're saying, let's use those funds instead of contingency. In other words, if they don't use all the money that we allocated to them.
I see that it goes into fund balance as of
That-
June
okay.
30th. So then you're talking about an allocation from fund balance.
Is
Would-
that, are we not allowed to do that?
You could, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
a different procedure.
Different procedure, right?
Yeah. Just, you could.
How is it different?
Historically, while I think there is a threshold in the charter, historically, whenever there's been an allocation from fund balance, it's gone through the process, through a town meeting.
I mean, I think there's a dollar amount that doesn't.
There's a,
have to go
yeah,
down.
there's a dollar amount, there's a
There's a
threshold
dollar
there.
amount that we can.
50,000, I think.
I
No, no, no.
totally retract that.
No, I,
Seems like a good idea.
but there is a dollar amount that you can do, and I'm not sure what that is, maybe 50, 60,000.
You know, I
So
think
you
we
probably could do
We
it.
could do it. So let's think about this now. So if we were to do that, okay, then we're gonna reduce the amount of money going into fund balance
Right.
from surplus.
Correct.
And yet, if we don't spend this from contingency, our contingency is gonna go into fund balance, so it really, you know,
So what it all comes
whatever
out
is
of-
left,
it
it's
comes
the
out of the
same,
same
yeah,
pocket,
it's the
yeah.
same. Like I said, my biggest concern was, I wanted to have a discussion about it, because, again, I'm as sympathetic to the Sandy Hook situation as anybody, but like I've said, if some screwball wants to go to Beecher Road School and do something awful, they're gonna do it regardless of what our security system is, so. I don't know. I guess,
But Tony, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I mean, if this was submitted on April 1st, is there any reason it didn't get into April Board of Selectmen and April Board of Finance, or
Yeah, and
May
that's
or
the date of
June?
it, that's the date of it, but I don't
When
believe
did-
that's the date I received.
that's not the date you received it?
No. It was until, I think, June.
Well, as I
It
recall,
was mid-June, I think.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of when we had, we did not have meetings for a long time, and all of a sudden we had this meeting. I'm wondering why this was dated.
It was in June sometime, the meeting that you had. It was like maybe the second week
Yeah,
of
it was
June,
the April
or
1st.
thereabouts.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the
building
date.
committee, you mean.
Yeah,
The
Well,
building-
this-
when the building committee discussed it.
Well, this came out, came out of the building committee meeting, that's how it originated. And that's why I'm interested in this April 1 date. Maybe this is correspondence, as far as I recall.
Would you like to make a motion? What is it? Do you have a feeling about it? Do you care, David? I mean,
I share your concern, but the process has
right.
been
That's my only.
stretched a little bit.
I mean, we could have had a lively discussion and then decided, and we could either vote yes or no. And now I just don't. We got to pay it, obviously. Well, we don't have to pay it, but.
So I can make the motion.
Sure, go ahead.
Move that we approve the request from the town building committee regarding Beach Road School to transfer money from contingency in the amount of $14,350. I can't say, is it 50 or 60? 50. $14,350 from contingency to the Beach Road infrastructure upgrade.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just raise a point. If we had been presented with this in the appropriate time frame,
There's not enough money in contingency.
there wouldn't have been at that point. Okay, but if it had come to us, do we have a sense that we would have gone forward to approve it?
I think after, if my friend Mr. Esposito was as convincing as I know he is, I probably would have voted for it.
Okay, so what we're objecting to is not being presented with it in a timely
Right.
fashion as
Right.
opposed to really the study itself
Yeah.
and the need for it, for the building committee and for the town. So
Right.
I think that sets a different,
Well, I'm going to speak for, Jeff is the chairman of that committee, but as a member of that committee, sitting at some of these meetings for the last 2 years, I will tell you this, is that I don't believe anybody that voted for this report that felt it had to be done, and we were being told that it had to be done, not in the wildest imagination, we just assumed it would have been funded and gone through the process like everything else was funded and through the process.
Right.
So, I mean, there was no intention on any of the board or Jeff in any way to circumvent anything. So, I mean, that wasn't anything.
But somebody gave the go-ahead, knowing that the approval process was not done properly.
So I think we can comment on that.
Yeah, I think
Our
they've
notion
gotta
is
be-
that we
Just
would
take
have
that in the work
approved
with that.
this.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You make that as part of the,
Well, I think we should you probably should just let them know.
yeah, I will.
We were concerned about
Yeah.
this. And in as much as they're gonna be handling a project that's gonna be dealing with many millions of dollars there.
Oh, we're gonna give, when the committee finishes, we're gonna give that to Tony.
All right, anything
Other
else?
duties as a
Anything
son.
else on this? All right, if not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I'm gonna abstain,
You're gonna abstain? Okay.
so I was a member of the committee.
I thought this was gonna be the third instance where you saw the first selectman.
Yeah.
All right, let's move this along now. Okay, next is line item transfer 1314-02, which is transfer of FEMA funds from the storms, I guess,
Correct, yeah.
to these various accounts
Right.
to reimburse them for expenditures. So
Right.
I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1314-02 in the amount of $65,000.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
And this is some, another line item transfer within the, from closed capital
Right,
projects to fund the
exactly.
replacement of the exchange server, whatever that is.
That's our email server.
Yes, so, see, it's software, okay. I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1314-03 in the amount of $15,221.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're hoping to put that in next year's budget, but didn't quite make it that far.
Thank you.
What would you do without email?
All righty. Next is approval of minutes. And these are the minutes of our last monthly meeting, June 20th, 2013. I'll move acceptance of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion, adjustments, corrections, anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Abstained.
And I'm abstaining too.
Abstained, all right, so 402, Karen. First Selectmen's report, Ellen.
Thank you. So I know there's been a tradition of the first selectman reporting on all of his or her activities over the last month, and I think I will not be doing that unless people are really interested in, something specific, and rather than that, just bring to you some important issues that have come up or things that I think are really worthy. If you prefer to hear the other, I'm glad to do it, but I don't think you really need to spend the time. So what I would like to talk about, one was the country club, of course, getting the ad hoc committee together, and we've covered that. The other is, if you haven't read or seen it, we have wonderful news about Woodbridge receiving a $3 million grant from the state for our microgrid project. And this is really a cutting-edge approach to energy for towns. I think Connecticut is the first state to do a statewide program, and we were one of the first recipients in this round. The $3 million is the top amount that any project was awarded. The sub-base and the town of Woodbridge got the $3 million awards. So it's very, very exciting. And for people who don't know what this is, it means that we will be able to generate our own electricity for the town center. And that includes police, fire, library, the old center school building, and Amity High School, which will all be power ready and power reliable in storms and other emergencies, which is just great. It means our emergency responders will have power. It means we'll have shelter, we'll have food and water for all the town residents. So it's just terrific, and I want to thank Tony and Joe for all their work on this, and also mention Ed Sheehy, who was determined to give Woodbridge its best shot at getting this award. So it's just terrific. And Tony and I and Joe are talking about next steps to make sure we stay on top of this and do it as quickly as we can. Tony and I went down to Bridgeport, and we met with the governor and the commissioner of DEEP, and it's a real credit to the town effort. So I'm delighted with my report.
Congratulations.
Yes, it's just
Wonderful.
wonderful. It's
Hopefully
really
we'll
great.
never have to use it.
Right?
Right. And if we don't have to use it, it may help us with our
Yeah,
energy
sure.
costs
I
in
think
any
that'd be-
event,
yeah.
because we can generate.
So
some
now, when is this
generation.
gonna all be done? Or
Oh, a
started?
week or two. No,
Yeah.
I think
no, we have
the
to,
timetable is, I think 18 months.
yeah,
A lot of digging, I guess, huh?
Yeah. It'll be all
Yeah,
underground transmission.
all underground.
So all the, you see the poles out there in the center there,
Right.
they'll all be gone.
Wow.
And the natural,
Yeah.
the natural gas lines that we put in are an essential part of this, so that we don't have to depend on electricity
Yeah, so
coming
we
in.
have, we have generation, which would be good for a while, but if we were out for a month,
Please. Please.
The way things are going, it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every year it seems to be getting worse.
The common theme a lot of towns were talking about was the climate change. And it's
Yeah.
happening right in front of our eyes.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
It was crazy weather.
100-degree weather?
I walked out this morning, I was ready to run and get my coat.
I know.
Another advantage of this is for our emergency plan, United Illuminating has asked us to identify our top 10 sites for restoration in the case of a power outage. And we've had the town center as our top priority. Once this is completed, we can take that off the list and add other priorities for UI. So there are just tremendous benefits for the town. So it's wonderful. So,
Okay, thank
yeah.
you. Liaison reports, Amity has not met. I believe we're meeting in August. As you know, John Brady is no longer with us.
As
John Brady,
superintendent.
he's vacationing in Cape Cod as we speak. I spoke with him, and he's doing wonderfully. He's enjoying retirement. So, but I did meet with him before he left to say goodbye to him, and again, I will miss him. He was a really great guy to know, and we all know what he did for Amity and what he did for our three towns. So but Mike Nast, who's a familiar name, is on board, and I guess they're moving along with various things. So good luck to Mike. So nothing to report on Amity. Mike,
Fire
do you have
Commission,
anything?
Fire Commission didn't meet in July, and
Okay.
the next meeting is August 19th.
Okay, Andrew.
Police Commission, they canceled the meeting on the Wednesday before 4th of July, and following Wednesday I couldn't attend the meeting because I was out of town on business, so I do not have a report unless Joe was there. Did you go?
I was there, and most of the report was in executive session.
Yeah, okay. And it has been like that for a while. EMS
We'll be meeting, EMS will be meeting in August.
in August, so.
David.
I attended the rec department meeting on June 24th. Townspeople are happy with the new lockers in the pool. It was reported the pool will be shut down Monday, August 12th. Will reopen on September 3rd for draining, cleaning, repairs, all that sort of thing. One issue that has come up, and actually I have a question about, is the Rec Commission sets the fees for the Woodbridge Aquatic Club, and they had set a big jump in it this year, and some folks from the club and Loch Reedy came and talked about it, and they've lowered that, but it raised the question for me, do they have the authority to set those fees, or should those fees be set by the Board of Selectmen? I just
Good question.
don't know.
No. Well, it seemed to me that the education, for the Recreation Commission is charged with that responsibility. They set the fees for everything. They set the fees for summer camp,
Yep.
they set the
They
fees for
do, they
everything
set all
else.
the fees,
So
yeah.
I think that's certainly within their scope of authority.
And we sort of have de facto approval over it through our budget, right? Because we see what the revenues are, and if the revenues weren't enough, we would make the
Yeah, and
adjustment.
his
that way.
revenues have been, I guess his revenues, we're competing against them right now. His revenues are down a little, So with the country club, we kind of compete against the rec department a little, but But, I mean, when he was, did they adjust their fees?
They did.
So-
They had asked for a 10% increase, which was
Okay.
substantial, and they, it's been lowered to a 2.5% increase.
This,
Okay.
this isn't the first time this has happened,
No.
right?
No,
This is like a
it is
recurring.
Ongoing.
It is
Yeah,
not.
right.
Okay, all set?
That's it.
Sandy?
I attended the Library Commission on Monday, July 8th, and they have actually a new set of officers. Jeanette Glicksman is the chair, Tom Chernow is the vice chair, and Bill Kelly is the secretary treasurer. And as approved by the Board of Selectmen, the 2 new members are Sherry Cifaldi Morrow and Elizabeth Marsh. And Karen has come over to the Board of Finance, which is a great addition. The carpet is being replaced in the community room, and hopefully it will now come off the agenda. It's been on for almost 2 years. But I think that Todd will be very happy once it's actually done. And Milliken is actually going to donate the carpet to Habitat for Humanity, so which is actually good. There was a lot of discussion and really a presentation by Todd about what Lion is in terms of the Library Association. I think everybody was very interested in terms of understanding the relationships with the different towns, the potential growth, what does that really mean for Woodbridge. And I think we're just very lucky to have a librarian who is so respected amongst that community, and he is the president actually this year. And they will be considering a policy for other donations, other types of donations in terms of collections and things like that. And that was basically it.
Okay.
The Board of Ed did not have a meeting.
All righty, next is designation of Board of Finance liaisons. I guess, first of all, does anybody not wish to continue in their, before we get to Karen, not wish to continue in their assignments? Everybody's want to remain where they are?
Yeah, but I'm open, actually. I mean, in terms of whatever Karen is interested in, I don't mind moving around. That's not a problem.
And I think we also, I discussed, Andrew discussed this with me, that we should probably have somebody sitting on the country club. Andrew is no longer a member of the country club, neither is Karen, because they can't serve on both for finding out. So Andrew would like to liaison the country club commission, if you don't
Now,
mind.
stay in the police commission and do the
EMS.
country club, and then we'd have to, somebody else can pick up EMS, because I can't do 3.
Okay. EMS, how often does EMS meet?
Quarterly,
Quarterly?
unless there's some type of emergency.
So Karen, the Human Services Commission is what Ian was covering. Would you cover that for us? That's great.
Unless you prefer
Great.
to do the
Unless you'd rather do
Unless you
library
want to
and-
continue on the
And then I'll just see if you
library.
can maybe on
And
a
then I'll-
quarterly basis attend EMS.
I can do human services, that's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And EMS?
Yeah, that's.
It's only a quarterly meeting
And they don't
normally.
last, they're not that early, normally.
No, about an hour, hour and a half tops.
Okay, so then we'll keep everything the way it is. And that's about it. So with that, before we adjourn though, I mean, I just want to say that we're not going to be, Woodbridge is not going to be outdone by England when we meet the next time. There'll be a new member of the royal family, and Ellen will add the title of grandmother to her repertoire. So good luck.
And thank you, I should add to that, that Karen just got that.
Oh, that's,
title.
oh, you,
So congratulations to Karen.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay.
And while we're on congratulations, I'd like to congratulate Matt and Sandy and thank you for how well you run this commission and all the members. It's really a tribute to all of you and to the town to have such a conscientious Board of Finance. So thank you all. Thank you.
And with that, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
They need to start over.